Hello, Donna Cato here. Welcome to my channel. Now, this is the third in my black and white series, and this is just a very simple little cane. It's just a pattern cane, and I don't exactly have a name for it. I don't know if there's a name for it. Well, whatever. It looks like tile, and I like it a lot, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I am fairly new to YouTube. I think you guys, even though I opened my page maybe 3 years ago, I just kind of did nothing with it because it was so hard for me to figure out how to actually put content up. Thanks to little Leslie Blackford, she cued me in on some things that I honestly didn't know. And the way I describe the whole YouTube experience is like, it's a house. It's a house with many, many rooms. And in each of those rooms, you can only do certain things. So I kept finding myself wanting to make pancakes, for example, and standing in the bathroom and not knowing where the kitchen was, because everything is dependent. If you're in the wrong room, you can't do certain things. So I am getting better, hopefully, and I'm working things out with my memory problems. So, it's a learning curve. It's a learning experience. Anyway, so I haven't watched a lot of YouTubes, but then I started, cruising through. And I still don't watch a lot of YouTubes because I don't want to be influenced by other people. But this pattern kind of drove me crazy, and it's called a paradox cane, and I'm sure you guys know what it is, and I'm once again late to the party, but I just did it in black and white, and I'm not going to do it because it doesn't make sense for me to do it when this lady, Motley Wood Spliced Paradox Cane, did it so well. Now, she did it in colors. I translated it to simple black and white, but I would highly recommend that you go here, Motley Wood Spliced Paradox. I think she calls it Spliced Paradox Polymer Clay Cane. Anyway, watch hers because she does such a good job explaining things. And then, if you want to make it, you can also incorporate it into our black and white series. Okay, so once again, I'm running low on battery, so I'm going to cut here, change my batteries, and I will be right back. Okay, so I'm going to leave this card right here because, of course, another one of the things I don't know how to do is to make like a clickable link like there. I don't know how to do it. Someday I'll learn. Okay, so leave that there so you can go to Motley Woods. Now here are the canes. Now these two are basically the same, but the individual component, which is this, see that is an individual component. Well, I squashed this one square, and this one I let it stayed a rectangle. I didn't squish it square. So that's why it's a little more airy, it's a little more pulled out, the pattern is more open than here, which seems to be very kind of compressed. So that's just a choice. And to tell you the truth, when I made this, I didn't even think about it. I just kind of pushed it into a square, and that's what I got. But I like them both, and I think they'll be useful as sort of supporting players in our black and white, whatever we make at the end. Okay, so here is something else. Okay, so you guys know I'm using black out and to make all my black, and I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I just started pushing scrap clay together and rolling it through and I added some black out and blah blah blah. There's an awful lot of gold in this scrap, so this black isn't quite black. It's sort of black gold, goldy black. So you probably want to pay attention to that because I'm not going to use that. It's much warmer than the regular black that I make when there isn't gold scrap involved. Okay, so I'm going to make this in black with a white wrap, which is what this is. This was, of course, a gray bullseye with white wrap. This is black with white wrap. So let's make this. I should probably make it in white. Nah, I'm just going to make it in black. Okay, so I don't think you need to watch me, but I'm going to take this clay, roll through the thickest setting of the pasta machine. Just going to cut it, and I'm going to roll it up, and I'm going to wrap it with white. I will show you what I have done. The bullseye is made. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's measure this puppy. This is pretty big. But remember, I'm going to reshape this, and this one piece becomes the whole cane. So I'm not going to be adding anything to it. So it's got to be fairly large. All right, so the black appears to be about 1 5/8 inch in diameter. And I rolled the white through setting number 2 on my pasta machine, which is an atlas that starts with 0. Now, this white is thinner than this white. I just know it is. This, I remember, it was the bullseye was maybe a little, probably the same size, maybe a little, actually it was smaller, but the white was thicker. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, okay? And this time I think I'm going to make this version, the rectangular, instead of the square, because I have the squares in black and white. All right, first thing I'm going to do is flatten this puppy. Just flatten it and pull it out. And now our bullseye isn't round anymore. Now this is, what does that look like? It looks like black rice, right? Well, that's not where we're stopping. I'm going to keep pulling this out. And I'm actually going to make, no, I'm going to leave it rounded. And I will hopefully be able to explain that later. Sometimes I know what I mean to say, or what I would like to convey to you, but I'm not very good at doing it. Okay. Oops. Stretch it out. Stretch, stretch, stretch. You know what? I'm going to make this a lot longer than I did before. See, when I made these, I think they were shorter. Maybe it was, like this. But I'm going to make it extremely longer so you can see what happens. Okay. Now, and I'm leaving this end kind of rounded. And I will cut along here so you can see exactly what's happening with the black inside. Because if you look at this cane, if you look closely, see this white area? Need a little pointer. Oh, I'll use this. See this little white area in here? See how it formed, I don't know what shape that is anyway, so obviously there's a bunch of white clay in there. Well, when you pull points out, if you pull a point out of the two ends like that, the white clay there's a lot of white clay at the end. You see, here the white clay thinned out along the length, but at the ends, it's almost like it compresses and you have all that white clay that was wrapped around the perimeter then is sort of concentrated at the ends. And that's why it's not sharp. It's just all this white clay, because I really did try to roll up the ends. You'll see, I tried to roll it up. What happened was I was rolling white back into itself. I hope that's clear. Okay, so let's see what we have. I really do want to make this extra long. Okay, so I'm going to take a cut off the side, and my blade is 6 inches, so this is, I have stretched it out about 6 inches. Okay, so this is a much better example of what happens than my lame explanation to you. You see that collection of white on the end? Well, yeah, of course, I didn't stretch out the white in that particular area, but I stretched it out on the side so you can see how much thinner it is. Well, when you roll it up, I'm going to pull a point out, like so, like that. Well, when you start to roll it up, what happens is, I'm just rolling that white back in on itself. So there's that concentration of white right there where I've rolled. So I think that's probably a better explanation. Now, if on this end I were to pull it out, and let's say I chopped that white off and then thinned it out further, like so, then when I start rolling, there's less of the white and more of the black curlicue. You see? This, all that white on the end. This, I eliminated a lot of the white and then rolled it up. Okay, so I think my explanation, I think that probably clarified things a lot more than anything else. Okay, so let's take a look at the difference between these two. Now, this one, you can see it's sort of like a little knob there. It's not like this, which is like boink, blob. And the difference is that here, I did not draw out a point. I did this. I left the end pretty much squared off, like it is, right? Both ends squared off like that. Square it off like that. And then I started rolling the squared off end. Now, this seems awfully thick to me, so you know what? I'm going to thin it a little bit more. I think I need to thin it more. Yeah. And I think I will have a better end result if I make the end a bit thinner. Not round, not pointed, just a bit thinner. So the center area is just a tad thicker than the ends. Okay, so let's give this a go and see if that's a little bit better. All right. So I'm going to start, and yeah, it is easier. That was such a lot of clay that I was trying to roll up, it was just too much clay. All right, so I rolled up a little bit there. Now I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to do the same thing and roll this end up a bit. Okay. And so you can see what's happening here, rolling this one. It's actually an S, like this. All right, so it curves this way, and then it swings along the length, and then it curves the other way. And you want to try to roll them equally. The same, whatever you do at one end, you're going to flip it over, and you're going to do it at the other. Okay, so I just keep going back and forth like this. Until they kind of meet like so, like that, okay? Like that. Now I'm going to take a cut. This is kind of the bad end. So this is what we have. And it is indeed an S. All right, now I'm just going to turn this into a rectangle. Once again, if I turned it into a square, remember I would have this. Or something very much like it. Oops. Little bits of clay. I got bits of clay everywhere. Well, I would like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Black and White series. You know, I know that the way I'm teaching you guys is probably driving some people crazy. Because I'm not the most organized person. I mean, I'll change things up just because I feel like it. And, you know, consistency is not my strong suit, and neither are numbers. Oops. Okay. Doink. So I want to thank those of you who are with me, who bear with me. I want to thank you. Okay. I love my little brayer. Okay, let's... My work surface is never big enough, never ever. All right, so there's one end. Let's cut the other end. And there's the other end. Not too bad. Not bad at all. And there's the pattern, big. And of course I will reduce it, so I'll scale it down. No, you know what I said, of course, but that's not like a rule. You can leave it large. You can leave part of it large and reduce another part, which will give you more options. You know, the piece you make at the end doesn't have to be scaled exactly the same. Maybe you have some pieces that have bolder patterns than others, and that will just make it more interesting. Okay, quickly, I'm just going to reassemble this into a slab, and that will be a good place to end. All right, so now I've got this, and it's 8 inches. I'll cut it in half. Put the halves together. A little goofy at this end. I think I want to cut some off. See what's going on. All right, that's pretty good. Like that. All right, friends. Well, I have to apologize for the end of that last part where I was way off working kind of like this, so you could see just a bit in the corner, and I have to apologize for that. I sometimes forget what I'm doing, and the camera's right here. All I have to do is look at it, but I get kind of carried away sometimes. Now, this is actually the second time I'm shooting this, because the first time it was so out of focus that I had to redo it. Anyway, so this is what I made, and it is a black and white version of this cane, where the individual component, which is this, it is a rectangle. Now here you see the individual component is actually squared off. So that's what happens. The pattern is more compressed, it's more squished. But I think it's fine. Now, in this tutorial, we also covered the difference between the way you fold up or the way you curl up the ends, and what happens. It just looks a little bit different. And this one, remember, we kept the ends squared off and we worked them back in, and that's why this is thick and round like that, as opposed to something that's kind of triangular here. All right, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, and you forgive me for working off camera, then please like and subscribe. I appreciate it very much. So I will continue on our black and white series. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next, but it'll be black and white. So I'll see you then.